So hello and welcome back to the channel. Now today I wanted to do something a little bit different. I wanted to talk about gear, and in fact I wanted to mention, I've got a bit of a list here of 7 pieces of gear that I suppose I can't live without as a photographer, but of course I'm not going to mention something like a camera because I need that to take photographs. I've tried to think a little bit outside the box with some of them, but they're all very, very important and pieces of gear that kind of just mean a lot to me as a photographer. So the first thing I want to mention, this sounds a little bit contradictory from what I've just said, so I want to mention it first to get it out of the way, is my wonderful Nikon 24-200 lens. Now, of course, you know, like I just said, we kind of need cameras, we need lenses, so it's pointless to mention them, but I don't know, I think I just wanted to give this specific lens a special mention because I absolutely love it. I must have had it, well, I got it with my Nikon Z7, so I don't know, it must be at least 3 years now, and it's just the best lens I've ever owned. 24-200, obviously it's such a versatile, you know, range of focal lengths. It's ridiculous. Like 24mm is quite wide on a full frame, 200mm is quite zoomed in. If I want more than that, you know, I'll happily just crop the image. I'd love to know down in the comments if any of you have got the Nikon 28-400. That's a lens that I may purchase soon. I think I might have got it already if I really wanted it, but yeah, that looks good. That looks really good. But for now, this is just fantastic for me. Now, next up is something a little bit different, and I'll have to just go and get it. So one sec. Yep, that is my Paramo waterproofs. Now, I always struggle with these in particular. Basically, they're expensive. That's what I'm trying to say. They're expensive, and I'm not that type of photographer where, you know, I don't want to encourage other photographers to go out and spend a truckload of money. You know, it's not what I want. I like everything to feel inclusive. If someone's only got a mobile phone, they can go out and take photographs, that's it. But for me, outdoor gear in general has definitely been like, they've definitely been like the biggest, most important gear purchases. Again, obviously aside from frigging cameras and lenses that you need to help me with my photography, both for the enjoyment of the experience and genuinely for getting good photographs as well. Because, you know, this equipment allows me to be out and about for longer periods of time, feel comfortable, and ultimately get photographs that I may not have got if I was out freezing and wet. But yeah, the Paramo stuff, all of this gear will be linked down in the video description below, by the way. I can't remember the name of this. I want to say Alta 3 or something like that, but it's so, so good. I don't know how it works so well. And a lot of yous over the years of me having this jacket have always said, oh, it looks like the water's seeping through, it looks wet. I think it's got 2 or 3 shells, so even though sometimes it might look wet, I'm still bone dry on the inside. And I kind of like that in a way, the fact that I don't really know how it works. I'm not bothered. You know, all that matters to me is that I'm freaking dry underneath this jacket, and it is so good. I think sometimes outdoor gear, probably waterproofs especially, can be a little bit false economy. You know, you might want to go out, your budget's maybe £80 or something, and you know, you might get a jacket, a waterproof for 80 quid, and then it's kind of all right for 4 months or something, maybe even a bit longer, I don't know, but then it just fails. Whereas this, again, it was expensive. I even want to say like 200 or 300 quid or something daft, but I haven't had to buy any waterproofs for years now because this is just perfect. So next up is easily the best piece of gear that I've bought probably over the past 12 to 18 months, apart from, I suppose, probably my OM5, but again, that's a camera that's kind of in a category of its own. A lot of you probably know what I'm going to say here, and that is this wonderful hip pack. So this is by a brand called Evoc. I think it might be a French brand. It's a hip pack, a bum bag, a fanny pack, whatever you want to call it, and it's called the Hip Pack Capture 7, you can probably see there. And you kind of put your camera in here. So I usually take my OM5 with a lens on, stick it on that kind of right hand side that you can see there, and then I have my wide angle lens on that left hand side. And this has been an incredible purchase for me. And yeah, I've always, ever since I first picked up a camera, just had kind of traditional backpacks, and they're great. I still go out in my backpack a lot and I love it. But when I'm just wanting something lightweight and accessibility of my camera gear is really important, this is just such a mint piece of gear to go out with. You can even You can see there, you can actually put a tripod across the bottom there if you want. Obviously, it can't be too big. But for me, with my OM5, I just don't need a tripod to get long exposure. So this works so well. It's also got, you can probably read there, like a rain cover that comes out. I haven't used this that often because most of the time, like the material's quite sort of, certainly not waterproof, but you know, like you can have like a quick shower, a bit of a downpour, and you don't need to bother with this, but that is there as well. I just feel like, yeah, it covers all bases and it's a great experience to go out with this and, you know, just feel kind of really lightweight. It's obviously fantastic for hikes. One thing I will say, I'll try and find it to put in the video description below, but I notice that a lot of yous lot say that it's quite hard to find it. I think I just bought it off Amazon, but hopefully there's still some of them about. I just recommend this so much. It is fantastic. Now, next up is something that has been really important pretty much since day one of me being a landscape photographer or being into photography, and that is a polarizing filter. I think I've probably neglected this a little bit recently. Some of you will remember a video I did a month or two ago back in autumn where I was out with my friend Ian, and I had the polarizing filter with me, but I was taking photographs without using it in an environment where I think just quite obviously, you know, was really well suited to using a polarizing filter. And I started using it and it kind of refreshed my memory of how important a polarizing filter is to cut glare off water, you know, to add a little bit of vibrance to the colors, mainly for the water, to be honest. I'm not overly bothered about it adding vibrance to colors because, you know, I can just do that in post, but getting that glare off waterfalls, off rivers, when you're on the coast, you know, you've got wet rocks and things like that. This is so good. And yeah, it sort of jogged my memory a little bit of like, come on, mate, you need to be using your polarizing filter. So important. And actually, I should mention this one is the Nissi True Color. I don't know if you can see that. It's a bit of an older one. I know Nissi have got loads of different filters out now, magnetic ones, like clip-on ones, all sorts of really cool things, but these still do the job for me. And then as a bit of a side note, if you're going to buy filters, buy the biggest size, but buy a filter for the biggest size lens that you've got, the biggest thread, and then you can buy these, which are basically just step down rings. So you can see there's a thread on the back there, put the step down ring on, which makes the thread smaller. So that does me for my two lenses for my Nikon Z7, my 24-200 and my wide angle 14-30, without having to buy two filters, because that'd get well expensive. Now, next up is something that I mentioned, I think it was in my previous video actually, and I was sponsored by Vallerret in that video, but this isn't a sponsorship at all. Just shows you, like, you know, I really try to take sponsorships for products that I really believe in, products that I use, and probably most importantly, products that I think yous will like as well. I'm not trying to flog nonsense to you, you know. But anyway, these Vallerret gloves, these are, can't remember the name of these ones, hang on. I should know this because these are the most popular. Oh, the Markov Pro 2s, I think. But yeah, these are probably my favorite ones just because I feel like they're a really good fit for like UK winter where it's not overly cold. If it gets to like -5, 6, like these are still all right. But these will still do the job if it's kind of like 4 or 5 degrees or something like that. But yeah, absolutely class. Again, this isn't sponsored. I feel like I'm doing a sponsorship here, but I just love these gloves. These little, I'll put it on so you can see, they've got these little finger caps that flip back. A lot of you will have seen these already. See that? And then you can flip them back up if it's a little bit chilly. And it's just such a great kind of system almost when you're out and about with your camera. You can leave your gloves on. And I just absolutely would not be without these, obviously, throughout the winter. Now, a couple more left, one of which, the last one, I want to talk about a little bit more in depth because it's something that's been kind of bugging me a lot recently. I think I finally found the solution. But before we get onto that, this is so important. My head torch, use lot, even in my videos and stuff like that, my YouTube videos when I'm out and about with my camera, you never see this. I never explain to you how important this is to me. Now, I do get quite a lot of questions from people asking me, when you're out hiking and you know you're on the top of a mountain for sunset, what's the story going back down? Is it not really scary? Do you not worry that you're going to trip over? You know, you're not kind of scared in general? And my answer is always kind of like, no, to be honest, it's fine for two reasons. Firstly, and most importantly, is kind of just experience. Although I never want to get complacent, I think it's really important to try and stay safe and to take your time when you're coming down a mountain in the dark or walking around anywhere in the dark when you're out with your camera. I feel like with experience, it becomes very kind of normalized for you. It's not a problem. But then secondly, having a really, really good head torch. I think this is the Olight H2R. I've got a couple of Olight head torches, and then as you've probably seen there, I always have like a couple of extra batteries with me in my bag. I could probably just have one extra battery, but I have two fully charged, obviously. And yeah, this was, I mean, I've had it for years and years now, but head torches in general, it doesn't have to be this particular brand or whatever. These are really good, by the way, though. They're an absolute, it's an overused word now, isn't it? But they are a proper game changer, like such a game changer. And what I say to people is if you get a really good head torch, there kind of isn't a nighttime, as daft as that sounds. You know, you've got an amazing head torch that's just lighting up the way in front of you, fills you with confidence. And yeah, it means that if you're comfortable with it, you can get to really cool places for sunset and sunrises, you know, with help from this little beast. Now, finally, let me just grab them. You can see there's probably a little bit of a theme of outdoor clothing, really, outdoor gear, and I've always tried to stress on my channel how important outdoor gear is. Of course, again, you need a camera and a lens, you need a memory card, but then after all the obvious stuff, for me, outdoor gear, man, is so important because, I mean, I suppose it depends where you live, doesn't it? Like if the weather's really settled and calm and warm where you are, perhaps it's not quite as important, but where I live in kind of Northern Europe and Britain, when I'm up in Scotland, well, even when I'm at home, you know, let's face it, like the weather can just be grim, can't it? Like there's no two ways about it. And to make sure I'm comfortable when I'm out taking photographs, when I'm out hiking for long periods of time, when it's wet and when it's cold is so important. But anyway, I've had this kind of battle now for years of frigging hiking boots, man. I don't think it'll ever end. It's the most annoying part of outdoor gear for me. I mentioned my waterproof before. My waterproofs from Paramo. I've got down jackets. I really like Rab down jackets. You know, I try and wear merino wool stuff where I can because it's really comfortable. Socks. I feel like I've got all of that sorted. Whereas hiking boots, man, I just can't seem to get a pair that fits the bill. You know. So for the past 2 or 3 years, I've had a pair of hiking boots from a brand called Zambalan, and they've been great. Really sort of traditional leather boot with Gore-Tex, and then I've tried my best to look after the leather on the exterior, and they've just failed over the past few months. Maybe I haven't been looking after them enough. I feel like I've been pretty hot on it, you know, like re-waxing them and things like that, trying to stay on top of it. But yeah, they're not waterproof anymore. So what I have been wearing, and I've mentioned this on my channel a lot recently, are kind of trail runners, and they've been great, but they're not waterproof, but they're extremely comfortable. And from this same brand, which is Ultra or Ultra, I believe they're a brand from the US, absolute class. They've actually got these. So the boots that I've been wearing, or the trail runners, sorry, are the Ultra Olympus 5s. Obviously just trail runners. These are the Ultra Olympus 6 hiking boot, basically. And these waterproof, so they've got Gore-Tex. It's probably going to fail at some point, but I'll try and look after this kind of like leathery, it is actually leather on, I was going to say leathery suede material, but it's just leather on the top, and to try and keep on top of it. And the thing with these is they are so comfortable. Again, kind of strange, I suppose, because it's not photography gear, it's not filters, lenses, it's nothing like, you know, tripods. I've not even mentioned a tripod because I just don't use them as much since I've become, you know, accustomed to shooting with my OM5, which has got amazing image stabilization. I've realized even with my Nikon Z7, I was probably overdoing it with the tripod, but that's a separate issue. My point is that, again, yeah, I feel like so much of the gear that I hold close to my heart, it's a bit over the top in it, but that's really important to me is, you know, making sure I'm comfortable when I'm out and about, and then everything else just happens, doesn't it? But yeah, I would love to know down in the comments any gear that, you know, preferably some that I haven't mentioned that's really important to you. And again, not really cameras and maybe even lenses and things like that. I suppose we could mention lenses because I said about my 24-200, didn't I? But you know what I mean? Certain things are kind of like a given. Maybe it's apps that you use or something like that. Maybe you've got some outdoor gear that you think would be really good to recommend as well. But yeah, anything that has helped you on your photography journey for A, enjoying the experience of taking photographs, probably more importantly, and B, actually getting good photographs. That would be really, really interesting. So please do comment down below. But thank you so much for watching. Hope to be out and about with my camera again next week. To be honest, I've really chilled out over Christmas, and I've enjoyed it, but I'm a bit behind on schedule, so I had to make a video like this. And I've hurt my leg as well. Freaking running too much, and I've got to kind of rest it a little bit. But anyway, thank you very much for watching. Cheers so much to my Ko-fi members for your continued support. And yeah, I'll see you on the next venture. Out.